Hey guys, and welcome to episode 115 of Meeple to Meeple, Pieces and Places, perfectly positioned on your board game table. What is he talking about? Well, you're about to find out. As always, I remain PJ. Today, we're going to talk about organizing your board game table. And with me, I have the amazing and growing in popularity, Josh from ModernMeeple. Josh, thanks for joining. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm alive and I got a roof over my head, so I'm doing pretty good, I like to say.
Yes, that is fantastic. As do I. So,
Yeah.
so I thought this was an interesting topic. I approached you because you're all over everyone's feed, right? And I almost
I
feel
hope so.
like
That's awesome. I
I,
don't.
I, I think so.
Okay.
And I was surprised. I was surprised by talking to some of our friends and fellow content creators, and they're like, "You got to talk to Josh from Modern Meeple. Oh my God, I've got his stuff." It's almost as if your product is a status symbol. If I go to someone's game table, their game room, and if there's the Modern Meeple classic hex trays sitting on the shelf, it's like I think you're maybe you're not there yet, but you're almost
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. That's definitely. Well, first, I want to thank you for inviting me to be here. It's a pleasure, and I
Yeah,
appreciate. It's always nice when someone reaches out and they want to talk to me because I don't feel very important, but it's nice to feel important for an hour or so. Um, but you're right. Like that's I'm I want it to feel like a premium item. I wanted to
yeah,
feel like it's not just something that's 3D printed. That's a throwaway thing. But my goal is also to make it affordable for the average gamer. So
right.
that's sort of where I stand. I want it to feel uh sort of like a status thing and like you have something nice, but I don't want to like steal all your money and make you feel regret your purchase. So
Exactly. No, I get that. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into the hobby of modern board gaming? Then, what was the first game you that got you into the hobby? Tell us a little bit about that.
so it was just a friend of mine that I've been friends with for 25, 30 years was asked me if I wanted to play some games or whatever. I said sure. He thought I'd be interested in it. His friends do like a gaming thing. It's called a LeoCon. And the first game I played was Cthulhu Wars. He brought that over. I invited some of my friends, so it was like I think there was 6 of us playing it, and it took 8, 9 hours. It was all day trying to figure it out.
Wow.
And we've never played games, so I don't understand like game mechanics. I don't know what like area control is, and I don't know what um, uh, like the I can't the phases. I don't know what a phase of a game is. I don't know what factions are, and like I'm like just like what are you talking about? So that was my first game, but I just liked. I appreciated it. Like I appreciated like I was like, man, the thought that someone had to put in this to like
Yeah.
make all these rules and all this stuff was crazy. But he said, come to this LeoCon thing. There's a bunch of games, and much, the difficulty, the weight is not as high as this one. So I was like, sure. And all my other friends were like, I'm not. This isn't my thing. So I was the only one out of the 6 of us that dove in a little deeper. So I went to a friend of mine's house, and I was just wow. I've never seen this stuff. I didn't know this existed, and he's got 500, 600 games, just walls of them, just figures, and I was
Right.
like, this is wild. And I just hopped into I don't remember if it was like a Quacks of Quedlinburg or what the next game was, but I know that Quacks was one of the games that I was like, why is this? It just seemed very cumbersome. It seemed messy. I didn't understand, like, people like, what does this do? What does the red one do? What is and I was like, I just got annoyed immediately by the bog down of the game. And that's how um, this idea sort of started. But that's how I got into gaming. And I was like, this is
Wow.
awesome.
So it sounds to me like whatever game you get invited to play is just going to be like a cakewalk after that first experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like to consider myself an omni gamer. The only games that I really so far don't like are, I'm not huge on co-ops, but I really don't like Blood on the Clock Tower. I just can't.
Mm,
I just don't like lying to all my friends and trying to pretend like I'm something I'm not. It makes me uncomfortable. That's why I don't like
yeah,
it. But the premise of
right.
it's really cool. Like I get the game. It's just not for me. But
I want to say thank you so much for sharing that because that is my problem. Not just with Blood on the Clock Tower, trader mechanics as a whole. I really struggle with that
yeah,
lying to your friends. Like, yeah, I, it's just not for me. I don't pass judgment on those who love it because I have friends who love that
yeah,
game. But
yeah. I have
yeah,
a buddy.
yeah,
He likes to be the storyteller, and he does really really
yeah,
well at it. It's just the game I don't really like. But I like Dice Throne adventures or missions, the new missions, or like Too Many Bones. I have fun playing those like cooperatively, but I just like the feeling of like figuring it out for myself and getting through it
right.
myself. So
So we're playing these games, and they have all these miniatures, or they have all these resources, or these chits, or these tokens, and it's just a whole mess, right? And so I'm just calling to mind Benjamin Franklin. He said, "A place for everything, and everything in his place." And if you didn't know that, you should put that as inspiration on your wall in your office
yeah,
because
it's a good
I
idea.
think that's exactly is what you bring to the table. I think I thought it was interesting you brought up Quacks because Quacks does it has a lot of pieces. There are so many different organization solutions out there. And for the purpose of this conversation, we're talking about managing your table, not so much inserts. That's a different
Yeah.
conversation entirely. Um, so was it Quacks that brought you to this idea that eventually became Modern Meeple? Or walk us through the steps that brought about the birth of Modern Meeple.
So it was actually fairly simple. I'm a very and it's to my detriment. I'm a straight shooter and I'm a very honest person. And I feel that if I'm not honest with people, then I'm doing them a disservice by lying to you and making you uh feel have an emotion that whether you like it or not isn't genuine. Um,
Mm.
so I immediately was like I was just like, why is this so like cumbersome? Like, what are we doing here? Like, being the new guy, everyone's probably like, who are you? like. But I was just like, isn't there a thing that like we could put all this stuff in that like spins so we can just grab it? And they're like, no. Um, and they were like, you should make something, and I was like, okay. So I made, fortunately I have the resources to make stuff. So I just made something. Then I brought it over. I showed my friends, and they were like, this is amazing. Um, and that's just how it started. And I just, I would make something else and bring it over. Then I made a smaller version, and we just went back and forth. And they thought it was a great idea, and they were like, you should go to Gen Con and you would sell a million of these things. And I'm like, what's Gen Con? you know? um, and they educated me on upgrading bits, like people like, acrylic tokens instead of cardboard and metal coins, and
Oh yeah.
that people would pay for this stuff because I didn't like why would like I never heard of I never even heard these games, never mind upgrading a game. I was like, this is crazy.
Right.
That's what my friends really made me believe, that this is something that is worth pursuing and dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into, which I've done, So here we
Yeah.
are.
Thank thank God for friends, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because if it weren't for your friends, Modern Meeple wouldn't exist.
yeah. Probably would. I probably would have made one or two things and just gave them to my friends or just used it for myself, But yeah, my friends have definitely helped me tremendously, give me the confidence, or always, they'll tell me like this isn't it. The dice throne trays, I
Right.
probably made 7 or 8 versions before I got to the one that I actually started like selling, and they're like, these can't be here. And I'm like, all right, just yeah, tell me, like because I don't know, you gotta just give it to me straight. I don't want to make
Yes.
something that's garbage.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely, my friends have uh are great.
So I want to hear a little bit more about that first kind of lazy Susan that you made, right?
Yeah.
Did you start right away with I'm going to make it a hex shape, or was it round, or like what did it look like? What was going through your head as you were making it and designing it?
It looks almost identical to what you see now. The only
Okay,
things I've changed are some of the tray designs I have. I no longer make it. Just it was an extra SKU that seemed like it didn't add any value to it. It's almost identical. Changed like the way I put the logo on. I used to laser it in. It used to be like a brownish color. I just now I have a pad printer and there it's white, so it stands out
right.
a lot. But the inspiration for the design for me is I like modern looking things. I like clean lines. I don't I'm not a I've never played D&D. I try to get my friends to like play and they're like, well, it's a group and you have to be, you have to be beat in like a gang. So, you have to wait your turn sort of thing. But I'm not a swords and dragons and, type of person.
Yeah,
And I felt like the space was saturated with that. And, I we don't need another uh like Wormwood. They make great
they do.
stuff, and that's their style, and a lot of people love that.
Yep,
It's just not my style. So I wanted to do
right.
something different, and I didn't want to compete or copy someone, what they're doing. So I wanted to kind of make my own avenue and just see if it stuck. And so far, I'm finding my niche in the niche.
Right. So was it just that the hexagon shape was just clean and it worked with your overall aesthetic, or were you inspired by the fact that the hex is like every tile laying game almost, right? From Catan to whatever's coming out this year uses that. Was that an influence, or were you even aware?
I wasn't aware. Like I said, I didn't even know what Catan was, So,
Okay.
I just, I like straight lines and stuff, and which makes sense now. It's just a shape that nests together well. So
Right.
that was sort of just happened to be the way it was. And the the putting it on a rotating base was just a like because I was just annoyed. We have a couple gamers that they would we'd sit around the table, they get up in their seat, they take a picture of the card of what the resource does, and then sit down and then see it on their phone and look at it. And I was like, just take your turn. So that's what inspired the spinning thing, and not having to ask, Greg to, hey, give me 2 yellow pieces and a blue one, and
Right.
tell me what the red card does or whatever. Now allows people to take their own resources, to pull what you need, look at the card if you need to look at it, and it just makes the game just flow so much faster, and you can get a couple more games into the day, which is what I was after.
So you're after the efficiency of the time between games so that you can squeeze in more gaming in an allotted period of time at the table.
Yeah, I want to, I would rather, I'd rather play 5 games, like 5 medium weight games, than one heavyweight long one. And I think, which is fine.
Yeah,
I don't mind, um, like, I just have to be ready for a long game. If I want to know that I'm
sure.
playing like, Cthulhu Wars or something. Um, but I just don't like it's like the waiting for your turn, because I'm just so eager. I'm like, man, I'm gonna put this here, I'm gonna put that there, and then
Yeah,
it's just you're waiting, for Leland to take his turn. You already know what the red card does. You've asked the last 3 turns what it did, and you're looking at it again. So that was sort of a bonus. It's a system that cleans up the table, makes it faster, allows you to squeeze in more games. And you don't have a resource banker, which
right,
I don't know about everybody else, but I just I hated being the resource banker because I'm so concerned about getting people their pieces, and I'm not focusing on my turn. So
right.
you sort of feel like the helper in the game, you're not the referee, not really a player.
Right. So it's interesting. I'm listening to you talk about this concept of managing the time between games, and my listeners are either going to embrace this or they're absolutely going to just get mad at me and tell me to shut up. So Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, right? He said that the secret of all victory is in the organization of the non-obvious. And I feel like that's exactly what you are doing. And that is a driving motivation, whether you realize this or
Yep.
not. You're organizing the non-obvious, the time between the games, rather than the game at the table. Yes, your product manages the physical components of the table, but you're also managing the non-obvious components of the day. I think that's incredible. And you set that up brilliantly without me even telling you that I was going to mention Marcus Aurelius.
Yes, and that's perfect. I mean, it's well said. It's sort of like when you go to a restaurant,
Yep.
they all have music playing in the background, and 9 times out of 10 you don't even notice it, but it just
Nope.
builds the atmosphere, and you just get that feeling of you're sitting in a restaurant. Same thing with
Yeah.
this. You're not realizing immediately that the game's playing smoother, and that you're getting it's a faster gameplay, but over time you're like, oh man, that went really smooth. And that we played that, it's actually a 45-minute game, like it says on the box, so
That's a conversation that I find that gamers have all the time when we go to conventions or just, what in between is is that very thing, right? It's like, man, the box says 45 minutes, but it's really 90 minutes with teacher, so it's like, okay, yeah.
yeah. And
I like that. So you're helping to support the designer of the game's announcement of this is how long the game takes, and you are accentuating that.
yeah, and I think people don't realize like how long it might be, an extra 30 seconds in between turns, but you got 6 players, there's 3 minutes in every row. It's another three,
Yep.
because someone's asking to read this or pass me that or whatever. And now you can it just you get 5 points, take your things, while the person's already another turn and you're rotating, you're pulling your stuff out while they're taking their turn. It just makes it go that much faster. And that's another thing it's difficult to portray that in pictures and on social media. That's one of the
Right.
challenges I'm having with marketing that. But it's one of the non-obvious features that you don't really see it. It's something you have to feel and experience.
Right. Right. So let's talk about the parts trays for a minute. Like the single parts tray, it's a hexagon, but you also um and I don't know what the technical term is, you'll certainly clarify this for me, but it's printed in such a way where it can either be by itself or you can put dividers in it so that you can hold different types of components. Tell me a little bit about the parts trays.
So, like you said, we have an open tray that is nothing. I think I have.
I knew that you would have some
I,
to hold up for
I mean,
the show.
yeah, I have so many. Let me grab some here.
And then I believe also you've got magnets on them so that they can secure together, right?
I don't do the only ones that have the magnets are the dice vaults that clasp together.
Okay.
I felt that, and I did a lot of research on this, and a few reasons why I didn't do it. Um, Wormwood already does that. That's their thing. The magnets,
Right.
it's fine. Um, and I felt like it wasn't. I asked a lot of gamers and some that had them, and I'm like, do you really magnet these together? And they're like, I never really do that,
Mm,
because they slide them around, and sometimes, and this is what happens is you'll have parts on a thing, and someone's like, oh, I need 10 victory points, and they slide the tray over to them to do it. Now, if it's magneted to 3 things, now you got to pull it off
right.
inside of them. And it just seemed like the magnets on the trays that clicked them together was like a gym at a condo complex. Like everyone's like, oh, my complex has got a gym, but no one's using the gym.
Right.
So that's
Right.
that's sort of and it makes the product more expensive. Magnets aren't cheap. Um,
Right.
and so there's a few reasons why I did that. And um, if you use it in the Susans, in the player ones, in the mini Susan, it's locked in there, so it can't go anywhere anyway. So it just seemed like a cost that I'd have to pass on to the customer that wasn't really beneficial.
Right.
So I don't do the magnets. But the dice vaults that I have one here. These dice vaults have magnets in them, obviously to keep it closed. So when you're carrying
Sure.
it, but that's the only
Right.
thing we have that has magnets in it.
Okay.
Um,
But now, yeah, the parts trays you were gonna.
yeah. So here, this is an open tray.
Right.
It holds more. Then we have a double. This is designed again, so you can either do a like quacks. You can put all the ones here and the threes here, and this holds the card that tells you what the resource does. That's what this is
Okay.
for. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so when it spins around the Susan, it faces everybody and everybody can see it. What this is also great, it works for like Cubito, same thing. Anything has a resource this fits in. This is also great for, you can take this out of the Susan, just use this individually and put this in front of you. You could put your individual objective cards here and your meeples or whatever resource you have. And this is just a little thing you can sit in front of you and use it. So it doesn't have to live in the Susans or the player ones. You could just take one out and use it.
Okay.
So that's that one. This is a triple. Again, this is just for if you have a game that either has a lot of pieces that are different numbers, or you got to
Right.
there's not a lot of resources. You can put this in a mini, and now you have 3 spots instead of 2 or 1. Just let you get more
Right.
resources. And this is our waffle that holds cards. Again, you can stack multiple cards. I have like acrylic walls that you can put in. You can actually put a deck in this and use this to hold decks of cards.
Oh
That
wow,
too.
that's cool.
Yeah, so that's what we have. I used to have one that instead of the card slot going this way, it went vertically like this.
Right.
But it didn't add any. That was one of the things I talked about earlier that I got rid of. It just didn't add any value. And a lot of people are like, what's the difference? It's hard to tell. And it's like, oh, it just goes in a different way. So depending how you place it.
Right.
So I got rid of that just to, the less options you give to people, the easier it is to make a decision. So
Sure. Is there a different price point in those trays, or are they all considered they're the same
they're all the
price?
same. Some of them take longer to make than others, but it's not worth me. I'm not trying to nickel and dime people. They're $15 a piece. It doesn't matter what one you get. They're all the what color, size. It doesn't matter.
So cool. Okay. So I got some comments on last week's episode where we were holding up board boxes and things, and they were like, I really love when you say describe this, and you're like, oh, here it is, and they're listening to the podcast. So guys, I know a lot of you listen on Spotify. Spotify does do video, or just go to the YouTube channel. Y'all need to come look at this because he's holding up the products, and they're really cool. So make sure you watch the video because these are beautiful. You have a product that brought me to think about. I came across this quote that I thought was really appropriate for me to talk about another product of yours. You've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but Louise Smith, she is like the first lady of auto racing. She said, you can't reach for anything new if your hands are full of yesterday's junk. You have a solution to help me get yesterday's junk or my last turn's junk out of my hand.
Yes.
You have a perfect product for that.
Yes. We have. I should have grabbed all this stuff before.
So this is your player one, which, as I understand it, is kind of like the player mat in front of you. Yes, there it is, guys. You're gonna have to watch the video because this is amazing. Tell me more about this. I was looking at this on your website and I'm like, oh, must have.
Yeah. So this was again a friend of mine, Tim. He helps me brainstorm ideas, and he was like, you got to make something. There's a lot of people on Etsy and stuff. They make these, they're just a square tray and they just have cutouts and you can put stuff in it. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can make that's easy. But again, I don't want to copy what someone else is doing. I want to try to use my brain to think of something. And I want to add value to what we do. I understand that my product isn't for anybody, but I'm trying to make it for most, and I want to make it affordable, and I want people to have options. So when I came up, the point of this was instead of making, this part and, or just, machining these pockets in and making 3 or 4 different trays or SKUs, now you can choose there's just only one thing to choose from, and you can change it by changing the trays.
Right.
So if you already have a Susan and you already have some more trays, you don't have to buy more of these. You can just buy the base. But the point of
Right.
this is to adapt it to whatever game. So for instance, if you got a lot of pieces you want to get in here, now you have multiple spots. If you want to use these, you can like roll different dice in each one of these.
Sure.
Again, since
So
everything we
what?
make, like these are our dice vaults.
Oh yeah.
So you can
Right
put this in here,
in there.
and then you can roll here.
Oh, that's
So the
cool.
options are endless. Everything fits interchangeably with each other. So that's how this came about. I sent it to my friend Tim, and he
Right.
was like, "That's it. That's gonna
Yeah.
be gold." 2 years ago, I brought 50 of them to PAX Unplugged just to see if people liked them. First day they were gone. So I was like, this is a hit. It makes sense. And that's how this was born. And it was the point of it was to get, like you said, all your stuff you're collecting from the game, the piles in
Hmm.
front of you. This it organizes it neatly. There's 2 card rails, so you can put your play objective cards or whatever up here it needs to be, and you can organize all your bits in front of you so you can concentrate on your turn. You're not knocking them on the floor.
Right.
And Richard isn't going to get mad at you because somebody lost, his 15th resource piece, so
I'm running out of stone for this game because y'all keep losing it. Yeah.
yeah. So that was the inspiration behind that. It was again, a friend of mine was like, you should do something like this, because I'm not there. They've been in the space a lot longer than I have.
Right.
So
So the player one, it doesn't come with the trays though, right? It's just
yeah,
the
no. If you so on the site, you can buy it with the trays. So you just pick a
okay.
color. You pick a color that you
Yep.
want, and again, this is just because you can make 30 combinations. How this is.
Sure.
It comes with, when you pick a color, you get these 2 trays. So you'll get a
Okay.
double and a single, and you'll get the base.
Okay.
If you already have, some people buy. We have these, which are like, we call them flights of trays. Some people already have these, so you can just buy the base part and then use the
Right.
trays you already have.
Right.
So there's 2 ways to buy it, to purchase.
So for those of you who aren't watching the video, so the tray, right? He's like he said, it's got 2 slots at the top to hold cards. And then there's 2 spaces that fit the hexagonal trays. What's also interesting is off to the either side on the left or right, they're flanked by these little compartments where you can hold chits and tokens and things of that nature. What struck me about this, because my wife and I both very deep into the hobby, so we play a lot of games, not just exclusively 2-player games, but just a lot of multiplayer games at 2 players, of course. I was like, I want 2 of those, and I want one with 2 purple trays because I play purple, and 2 yellow trays because she plays yellow. Because gamers are crazy about the color that they play,
Yeah.
and I love that you recognize that, and it must be very easy for you to just get the material in the colors and produce the trays accordingly.
I wouldn't say easy. The
Okay.
material, the material is sort of proprietary to us.
Okay.
You have to see it to understand it. Again, another thing we struggle with, a lot of people think this stuff is 3D printed, which it isn't. It's all, we machine everything on huge CNCs, and then there's a lot of hand, like we have to round over these little corners on top and bottom by hand.
Okay.
We laser the logo on the back, and those go on the machine by hand. But what the material is, basically it's recycled wood that companies
So
can't.
it's rewood.
It's not rewood.
Okay.
It's closer to like an HDF. Or most people know MDF, which is a medium density fiberboard. This is more of an HDF. It's a lot more dense, and it's a lot stronger.
Okay.
And how it's made is that and when you see a piece, you'll see all these little flecks inside of it. So the wood is ground up into like a pulp, and then we impregnate it with the color that it gets. Then it comes
Okay.
out in sheets that are like probably this thick. It almost looks like pink insulation. And
Okay.
then it's compressed really with heat. It's mixed with a resin binder. That's what keeps it glued together. And then it's pressed into the sheets. And then we take those sheets and then machine all of our parts out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what gives it the
Wow.
color throughout. It's not painted. It's
Okay.
not, just dipped in a dye. The color actually, you can
Right.
cut this in half and it'll be green throughout the whole thing. And that's what gives it. It's like it almost. I don't want to say it feels like plastic, but the sound of it and the stiffness of it's very firm and very stiff. But it's a wood based product.
Right. I did not know that. I have to. I admit. I am reticent to admit, but I did think they were 3D
Yeah,
printed.
most
I
people
didn't. I
do.
didn't know. I just didn't know because I've never held it. I've
Yeah,
never seen your product in person. All I know is I see it all over social media, and your popularity is growing.
yeah.
So that's
I
really
appreciate it.
cool. No, that's really cool. One of the things that we've talked about on this show and multiple times, particularly with CGE games, is they're making their components more out of recycled wood or rewood. And we love that, using that sustainable materials. And if I wasn't already sold on your products, I mean, I'm sold now.
I
Like, I was already sold, but now I'm sold even
appreciate it.
more. And yeah, because I'm going to go tell my wife and be like, we need to order this as soon as we
Mhm.
get off here. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. That is fantastic.
Yes.
I did not know that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you use that type of material. I think that's
And the
wonderful.
dyes are all organic too. So, we're trying
Yeah,
to be conscious about that. And it's like I said, the 3D printed, it's hard. Like, I can't sell a premium product and be 3D printed. It's just, there's no way to get,
right.
just 3D printed stuff just is sort of, it's throwaway-ish and it's tough to get past that. So,
Yep.
and it just, it doesn't feel, this has like it has a premium feel to it. And the hardest thing because it's in color, people automatically assume it's 3D printed. So when we do shows and conventions, we kill it. It's because people can see it and touch, and they're like, "This is not what I thought it
Right.
was," and it's immediate. So that's by you inviting me on your show, it's awesome to I can actually explain to people what
Hmm.
the product is and get that out there because it's a hard thing to fight is the 3D printed thing, which um,
Yeah.
I have to do a better job at
I
trying to get that out there.
I want to talk about, you have the dice throne tray, right?
Yeah.
So it's the only, I guess my first question is, did you have a licensing agreement with them to make the product?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So again, I was naive to this whole process. Dice Throne was
Okay.
it was one of those games I was introduced to, and I played it like crazy at Dick Capoo's house, who do the LeoCon, and I just had so much
Right.
fun with it. And I have just vivid memories of playing like 2v2 and just like last roll, and the winner has one life left, and it's just like it was so exciting. The game was so exciting, and I had just vivid memories of it. But just the stuff was everywhere, and I was like, this is crazy that people play like this.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm gonna make something. Let's see if it sticks. And I did it. And again, it was 6 or 7 iterations.
Right.
And that until what it is today. And that's like one of our best products. Like people love those things. And this is a funny story. My first convention, never sold a thing. I went to PAX
Right.
East, and
Okay.
Manny from Dice Roll, Manny Tremley, he came up to the booth. I didn't know who he was. He was looking at it, and I was like, yeah, this is for Dice Throne. It's such a fun game. Like, you got to try it. They're right over here. Like, if you haven't played it, you must play the game. And he's like, yo, I know what it is. And he opened his shirt, and it, had a Dice Throne shirt on. And I saw his tag, and he didn't say, he wasn't like I'm the designer or whatever.
Right.
but you know how you think of things through your mind like after it happens, and I'm like
Yeah.
the pieces are clicking, and I'm like, man, I am such an idiot. Like, um, so then later he brought back his team, and he's like, I've heard about these. These are really cool, and they were
Mm,
very supportive. They didn't say you can't do this. They didn't.
right.
They were very supportive, and I thought that was really cool. And they're still supportive today. They don't tell me what to do or give me any say,
Right.
but they say you do what you want, and so so I've had a great experience with them. They've been really cool with that.
That's an amazing story, and
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that. That is
yeah,
incredible.
and I
There's plenty of room for idiocy. We all have our moments, present company included, right? So my asking you that is, I was curious. I was thinking about another company that does box inserts, folded space. They on their website they have a survey where people can what games do you want to see them make inserts for? And if they see a trend, then they can reach out to that publisher, designer, whatever, and try to work out a deal.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that was something you were thinking about, because what I find interesting is that's your one product that is game specific. And I didn't know if there was more room for that in the future. Maybe you're already working on something and you can't tell me about it. But yeah, I was just wondering if that was an element, future growth for Modern Meeple.
yes. So it is. I also made trays for Hero Clicks, but they didn't really sell well. I sort of,
Mm,
I know that game used to be really popular, but I feel like it's sort of like a dying game, and I could be wrong. I'm just not into it enough.
yeah, yeah,
But it's a lot of money. You have to have a lot of money to play that game, and the rules change a lot. And I've tried to play it, and it's one of those games that you got to lose a lot before you can figure it out. And I feel like it's a hard
sure.
entry for new gamers to get into. So
Yeah,
I feel like that's why it might not be as popular as I think it should be. So I just stopped doing that. But I am my goal is to work with games, and I am working with some now. I can't say what we're doing, but
no problem.
my goal is to say you buy a game, and on the box it'll say either Modern Meeple ready or Modern Meeple compatible or something of the like, and I can make a tray, like say it comes with like these are like little bees. I can make it
Okay.
so all these bees are specifically nested in this, and they're cut out for this,
Oh,
and this hex will come with the game. So then when you get the
okay.
game, now you can take this hex and put it into the Susan, into your player one, and it'll automatically integrate into what you already have. That's one of my goals, is to do stuff like that. Um,
That is cool.
yeah, it'd be really cool. Yeah. So we're definitely in talks with some. We're working on some stuff. So that would be awesome to do, because like I said, like folded space or game trays. They do stuff with games. So we're just trying
Yeah,
to do the same thing.
yeah. That's amazing. You've really elevated organizing your game table and then managing the time between games. I love that. Like, listening to your story is just incredible. Thank you so much for that.
I
That's
appreciate it.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I was struck by, I saw the dice throne trays. I'm not a big dice throne player, but I was like, man, I wonder if he's going to do other games. And I started thinking about games where your product might work really well if it was tailor made specific to. And is there any potential for going back and working with games that already exist and making Modern Meeple organizational products for those games?
I mean, there's always
Sure.
the great part about um, Modern Meeple is that, like, we make everything. So
Right.
there's no going to China. There's no, so I can do a prototype of something. I can do one of, I can do 10,000 of. So that's not difficult, and we can do things quickly. But I don't know everything. So until someone, or I get people like, yeah, this, you need to make something for this game. Like, I'm not going to know unless I play it. Like, I played Dice
Right.
Throw and I loved it. That's what that came out of. But it's difficult for me to play every game. Most gamers play a game once or twice, then it's on to the next one. I like to play games 3 times before I even give it a review. But you know how it's playing a game 3 times is difficult.
Yes. It is
Um,
very difficult.
yeah.
Yes.
So I'd love to make other things. My main focus or my main goal is I want to try to make everything fit in this format so it can be used with other things we have. Again,
Right.
to get I want to give people value. I don't want to feel I don't want to design something and in 5 years, new thing, all that stuff you have doesn't fit system 2.0. Um, I think it's a
Yeah.
terrible thing to do, and that's my goal. And I may not have the answer of the next great thing in my head now.
Yeah.
Um, but my goal is to keep making products that have to do with this. So we have the Gamey Susan, we have the Mini, we have the Player One, that all use the same hexes and system. And then we have dice rolling trays, we have
Yep.
the holders that hold stuff, and then we have
Mhm.
the dice throwing stuff. But I'd love to, if you have ideas or if people want to comment on this video on the YouTube and say, hey, it'd be great to make something with this game, I'd love to. I'm definitely down for that. Not interested in doing the folded spaces stuff. Can
Right.
certainly do it, have all the machinery and stuff to do it. That's their jam.
Right.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes. So I want to use my mind to think about something cool or something different, that I can do.
So I think I have two questions about that. One is in your personal gaming experience, right? When you're not working Modern Meeple. How often do you get to game now?
And not nearly as much as I would like to. It's
Yeah.
definitely
Sure.
a mixed bag. Some, you know, I definitely do miss, like at PAX Unplugged. That just happened. I can only be here. I can't go anywhere else. I'm gonna be gaming in the hotels with my friends and yada yada. And then I get there and I'm just networking, running around from hotel to hotel, trying to, and I end up not playing anything. So it's difficult to balance the the hobby and the love for the games and
Mhm.
create, keep the business going, and make new stuff. I make everything. I ship out everything. I answer all the emails. We're getting bigger. We have Kate's on board now, and she's answering some emails, and she's dealing with influencers and stuff. But I'm talking to all the influencers. So
Right.
it's difficult to do that. March 29th and 30th, I believe, is our LeoCon that I was telling you about. And
Yeah.
those 2 days are slated out. I'm playing games for 2 days. So nobody talk to me. Nobody bother me on those 2 days.
So so when you're there, March 29th and 30th, and you're gaming, and just in the evenings whenever you do get to game, um, how difficult do you find it to rest your modern meeple brain and just
Mm.
experience the game?
I think I experience the game well, but I'm always
Mhm.
my mind's running. It doesn't matter if I'm gaming, just life in general or other things.
Yeah.
I'm always I can't just go to bed and fall asleep. My eyes have to be closing, or I'll
Mhm.
just sit in bed, look at the ceiling, and just my mind's going, what can I
Yeah.
do? What can I do? But so I still enjoy it. I enjoy playing the games. It doesn't ruin my experience. Hi, pretty
Yeah.
girl. It doesn't. It's my daughter. It doesn't
Oh,
ruin the experience. Want to say hello? Say
we
hi.
have hi, we've got a special guest.
Hey, you're okay. It's okay. Yeah. Um, so it doesn't ruin my gaming experience. I still love
Sure.
to play.
Right.
I just like using my mind other than
Yeah.
business and thinking of other things, and I feel like I'm solving a problem. How do I
Right.
get all my bees here? How do I get all this resources? And it's exciting for me. And I wish, um I try to get more people in, because I think people look at me and who know me, which is probably why it took my friend 25 years to invite me to play games. I'm not what a normal gamer or a typical board gamer.
Okay.
I ride motorcycles and ATVs and jump out of
Mhm.
airplanes, do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, people you're not going to want to sit down at a table and play a board game, but it's fun. I think a lot of people don't even know, like me, just don't even know this exists. And it's just,
Right.
I appreciate just what people come up with in these games, and you know, I'm also impressed, like not just playing the game, but I'm like, how did somebody like think of this and all these rules? And you know, I couldn't do. I'd love to make a game, but I just don't think I could ever do. I would need a ton of help.
Right. No, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Um, A. A. Milne, the author of the Winnie the Pooh books and series, said that organizing is something you do before you do something, so that when you do it, it's not all mixed up. And so, Josh, thanks for helping us stay unmixed up,
Yeah. Well, I
as it
appreciate it.
were.
Yeah.
That's great. This has been great. Thank you so much. Also, you know what? I say this every episode. I'm still getting terrible. I was supposed to do this at the beginning. Please, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video or whatever podcast streaming device you're on. Please leave comments. Josh and I would love to hear your thoughts about games that maybe Modern Meeple should be thinking of making products for, that is one of your favorites. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Or send
yeah.
send you
But
know
thanks
send an
again.
email. Like, I don't know
There you
everything.
go.
I'm not the
Right.
smartest man in this planet. You know, send an email if you're like, hey, could you do this, or this would be cool to do that. I'm happy to hear it. I'm all
With
ears.
that, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and your email if you want to.
Yeah. So all social media, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky. It's all Modern Meeple. And if you know, website's Modern Meeple, and if you have any questions or ideas, it's info@modernmeeple.com. Shoot me a line or questions. People ask stuff there all the time. If you need support, or you know, if you're doing a tournament and you know whatever, if you want to see your stuff in your stores, send us a line and we'll try to accommodate.
Perfect. Josh, thanks again. I really appreciate it. It was good getting to know you and getting to share your work with the world.
Oh,
So
thanks,
thank you.
PJ. I appreciate you inviting me
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. All right, guys, and stay tuned. There's more to come in the next few weeks. I've been really busy. I tell you, it's amazing. Gareth's gone, and I'm just like, I'm a machine. He turned everything over to me, and I'm like, I'm going crazy. It's like I've got to keep a schedule. I almost missed this episode because I'm like, wait, when are we supposed to do? So thanks for putting up with my shenanigans, guys. Thank you, and keep watching.